This is him, Zulu King, 1928 to 2023. Man of many faces. Yeah. South Africa woke to the news yesterday that Prince Mangosuthu Buthelezi had died, age 95. The veteran politician and statesman was seldom out of politics headlines for the best part of 50 years. Wow, what a warrior. That's what I'm talking about. You ride out like a freaking 9-10-star general. Absolutely. First as Prime Minister of the Zulu Kingdom, then as head of Inkathas, locked in a low-intensity civil war with the ANC. After 1994, he was Home Affairs Minister in the government of Nelson Mandela. Okay? Yeah. Greetings. Today is September 15th, 2023. The time now is 12:01 in the afternoon on this beautiful, beautiful Friday here in South Africa, Johannesburg. How is the sacred, divine, Black African family doing? How you all doing? How you doing? I have an article that I'm going to read, and it is about a very powerful activist, revolutionary individual who is now an ancestor. And I don't know much about this individual. I'm learning. And I want to say before I read this article that this article was not written by Goddess Terrain. I'm simply reading the article that was placed in the Sunday Times here in Joburg. So there will be probably things in the article that I may not agree with, I totally disagree with, or that I am on the fence about. So just keep that in mind, because I know how we are as Black people. We're very sensitive. Some of us are. And if we're not hearing stories told in the right way, we have a right to become offended. Okay? We do. And so I am sharing information that I have access to. As I get more information and more access to information, I will share that as well. That way, all parties who are listening can form their own opinions. Here we go. This article is about the Zulu king, Seshwayo Mangosuthu Buthelezi. This article is about the Zulu king, Seshwayo Mangosuthu Buthelezi, who just transitioned a few days ago. Greetings. Today I want to read a tribute to a great Zulu leader here in South Africa. His name, Mangosuthu Buthelezi. Chris Barron did a full spread on him in the Sunday Times. I'd like to read what he said. The title of his article is Mangosuthu Buthelezi, From Warmonger to Peacemaker. Mangosuthu Buthelezi, who has died at the age of 95, was the charismatic, cantankerous, bellicose, and autocrat leader of the former KwaZulu homeland and founder of the Inkatha Freedom Party, which he led until he was 91. As he mellowed with age, he embraced the role of elder statesman, peacemaker, and father of the parliament, but could never shake his reputation as a warmonger with blood on his hands, who took the country to the brink of civil war in the early 1990s. Buthelezi was the great-grandson of the Zulu king, Seswashto, whom he played in the 1960 film Zulu. As chief minister of KwaZulu, he rejected attempts by the apartheid government to trust independence on the homeland, to prevent it denationalizing 7 million Zulus and force it to seek a constitutional alternative to grand apartheid. In 1975, he formed Inkatha, which became the IFP in the 1990s, ostensibly as a Zulu cultural organization, but actually as a political movement dedicated to the ending of apartheid by peaceful means. He said it was a rival of the original ANC before it adopted the armed struggle, which he thought was naive and doomed to failure given the military might of Pretoria. He believed that as Black labor and consumer power grew, they would be far more effective agents of change than armed struggle. For much of the 1970s, Buthelezi enjoyed more support for his opposition to apartheid than any other Black leader in the country. A 1973 survey identified him as the most popular Black leader in Soweto, with support far exceeding that of the jailed and largely unknown Nelson Mandela. In 1976, tens of thousands gathered at the Jubilani Stadium in Soweto to hear him speak. He called for a national convention to debate a federal system for the country. He urged the apartheid government to allow all organizations and leaders to attend, including those banned, jailed, or in exile. Prime Minister John Voister refused. His call was overtaken by the June 1976 Soweto uprising, after which the political tide began turning against him as increasingly militant young people influenced by the Black conscious movement joined the ranks of the ANC. They saw all homeland leaders, including Buthelezi, as apartheid stooges, and in 1978 chased him from the funeral of the PAC leader Robert Sobukwe. In spite of this, Inkatha in the 1970s was by far the largest Black political organization in South Africa, and the ANC tried to persuade him to join forces with the Revolutionary Alliance under its leadership. This would remove a key rival from the scene and provide the ANC with a lawful internal ally well placed to implement, quote, People's War, unquote. Its aim was to form a loose liberation alliance in which the ANC would play a dominant role. According to the ANC script, Buthelezi would temper his criticism of the armed struggle and economic sanctions and help MK insurgents infiltrate the country. When they met in London in 1979, Buthelezi made it clear he had no intentions of being an ANC surrogate. He repeated his rejection of armed struggle while peaceful change remained possible. The ANC turned on him viciously, accusing him of seeking personal aggrandizement by collaborating with Pretoria. Refusing to recognize the ANC's vanguard role and publicly criticizing sanctions and the armed struggle, Thabo Mbeki accused him of being an apartheid collaborator and police agent. ANC President Oliver Tambo said he emerged on the side of the enemy against the people. Buthelezi vocal opposition to economic sanctions and armed struggle brought him strong support from South Africa white business community and opened doors for him abroad, where he was feted by British Prime Minister Margaret Thatcher and U.S. President Ronald Reagan. In 1983, he launched a major campaign against the government's proposed Trackmural Constitution, which he condemned as a, quote, act of aggression, unquote. He said it would be a, quote, political death sentence, unquote, for 22 million Black South Africans. In 1980, a commission including respected opponents of apartheid, leading academics, and prominent business interests was established in his name to look at federal options for KwaZulu-Natal. In 1986, he hosted the more substantive KwaZulu-Natal Indaba, to which the National Party sent observers. By this time, the United Democratic Front, UDF, had emerged, and the province was gripped by escalating violence that could not be entirely dismissed as a UDF/ANC battle for supremacy against the IFP. However, much it suited the apartheid government strategy to make it appear so. According to a National Party insider at the time, the government used the IFP to fight the, quote, radicals, unquote, to avoid the international consequences if it used white soldiers. Violence between the ANC/UDF and IFP began in the 1980s when the township youth of KwaZulu-Natal mobilized against school and local authorities. Buthelezi called for every Inkatha region to have its own paramilitary force, supposedly to protect IFP-aligned communities, but also to prevent the growth of the ANC. Aligned UDF in KwaZulu, which he was determined to maintain as a Inkatha stronghold. By 1987, it had escalated into a vicious, low-level civil war in the Natal Midlands, characterized by massacres committed by both sides. The general view among non-IFP supporting South Africans was that Buthelezi was the main aggressor, working hand in hand with elements in the apartheid security forces to destroy the ANC Zulu base. This was supposed by detailed research, which showed that Inkatas were responsible for most of the violence. The casualty rate among UDF supporters was more than twice that of Inkatha supporters, who were more aggressive, better armed, and actively and passively assisted by the South African and KwaZulu police. Buthelezi said the violence stemmed from the attempt by the ANC to establish itself. Buthelezi said the violence stemmed from the attempt by the ANC to establish itself as the sole authentic representative of Black people in South Africa. It wanted total control of the struggle for liberation, he said. At the same time, he used a variety of excuses to torpedo efforts to mediate peace initiatives. He questioned the bona fides of those trying to organize such initiatives and made unrealistic demands, such as insisting the talks be held at Lundy rather than more neutral venues. When Archbishop Desmond Tutu appeared to political leaders in the war-torn Natal Midlands to call on their followers to stop acts of violence, Buthelezi accused him of posturing in the name of peace and being biased towards the UDF/ANC. When the UDF and the Inkatas issued joint statements agreeing to stop the killing, Buthelezi would invariably launch vitriolic attacks on the UDF leaders, raising questions about his commitment to peace. The police were frequently accused of standing by while Inkatha's vigilantes attacked UDF Kostatu strongholds. Buthelezi's line was that the ANC had imposed the war and the Inkatas were merely defending the people from attacks. However, in the mid-1980s, according to Democracy Evidence, he requested from the apartheid regime a small, full-time offensive element which could be deployed against the ANC UDF. This led to the so-called Inkatha's Hit Squad, a force of 206 Inkatha recruits trained by South Africa's Special Forces at a military base in the Caprivi Strip in northern Namibia. Their arrival in KwaZulu-Natal coincided with a surge in attacks on the UDF. Activists and the region quickly became a killing field as two sides battled for control. The Truth and Reconciliation Commission, which Buthelezi and the IFP refused to have anything to do with until just before it wrapped up, found that the South African government had provided Inkatha with a hit squad, which dramatically escalated the conflict. It found that police and military officers provided, at the very least, logistical backing for the Inkatas in the Natal conflict. Judge Richard Goldstone found that the South African and the KwaZulu police had been supplying weapons for the IFP. The conflict in the Natal Midlands was transposed to the Reef after Mandela's release in 1990, with even more horrific results. The police sometimes escorted Inkatha's impis, refusing to disarm them or stop their attacks. Political violence in the two provinces claimed an estimated 20,000 Black lives from the mid-1980s to 1994. I repeat, political violence in the two provinces claimed an estimated 20,000 Black lives from the mid-1980s to 1994. Let me repeat that. Political violence in the two provinces claimed an estimated 20,000 Black lives from the mid-1980s to 1994. In 1993, Buthelezi withdrew the IFP from the multiple party negotiations to end apartheid, claiming that they were being driven by the ANC and the National Party to the detriment of the IFP, whose demands for KwaZulu to be declared an independent sovereign state were being ignored. He said he felt, quote, insulted, unquote, that President F.W. de Klerk was cutting deals with Mandela. He told supporters at a Shaka Day rally that this was an attempt, quote, to wipe us off the face of the earth as Zulus, unquote. Wow. Buthelezi almost derailed the transition to democracy when he teamed up with Conservative Party leaders Andreas Treurnicht and Homeland leaders such as Lucas Magope Bop Hutha Wana and Seski Upa Gwazo to form the Concerned South African Group, COSAG, in what was seen as a blatant attempt to sabotage the first democratic election in 1994 in order to maintain their benefits under apartheid. So the way this is ending, they have a few more passages. It sounds as though Buthelezi and the Zulus were betrayed. And I don't know, this is just a speculative comment right now. I could be wrong, I could be right. But it sounds as though they were using Mandela to undermine the efforts of the Inkatas. I don't know. Let's keep going. Buthelezi's goal was believed to be succession or a breakup of the country. He complained that Zulu King Goodwill Zwelithini was not being accorded his rightful place in the new dispensation. This was seen as code for the Zulus to go it alone with the KwaZulu-Natal as an autonomous state. He threatened to boycott the elections, and a series of desperate last-minute meetings were held between him and Mandela in 1994 as the deadline approached. While negotiations between the two leaders were underway, horrific violence between supporters of the ANC and the IFP continued to escalate. There was a stark indication of how volatile the situation was when on March 28, 1994, 1 month before the escalation was due, thousands of Inkatha supporters armed with spears, pangas, and knockaberries marched through the center of Johannesburg and were gunned down by ANC security officers outside ANC headquarters at Shell House. Wow. Phew. Good God. Oh my goodness. 53 people, mostly from Inkatas, were killed. It was a bloody reminder of how devastating the consequences of the IFP's non-participation in the elections might be. While negotiations between the two leaders were underway, horrific violence between supporters of the ANC and the IFP continued to escalate. There was a stark indication of how volatile the situation was when on March 28, 1994, 1 month before the election was due, thousands of Inkatha supporters armed with spears, pangas, and knockaberries marched through the center of Johannesburg and was gunned down by ANC security officers outside ANC headquarters at Shell House. 53 people, mostly from Inkatha, were killed. Wow. Oof. My gosh. I wonder, did any of them go to jail for assassinating innocent protesters? I wonder, did anyone go to jail for assassinating 53 Inkatas? It's a question. We have questions. We have questions. We have questions. I wonder, did anyone go to jail for assassinating 53 Inkatas? It's a question. We have questions. We have questions. We have questions. Kenyon Washington Okumu, who was part of an international delegation of mediators brought in by Mandela to persuade Buthelezi to participate, and knew him very well, believed the danger of a bloodbath was real. He said Buthelezi believed he had enough money and weapons to cause chaos and was preparing for guerrilla warfare. Quote, he was prepared to do that, unquote, said Okumu subsequently. With only 7 days remaining until the elections, Buthelezi announced at a press conference with Mandela and de Klerk that the IFP would participate. He didn't win any significant new concessions for suddenly agreeing. He said he had compromised, quote, to suddenly agreeing. He said he had compromised, quote, to avoid a great deal more bloodshed and carnage, unquote. It was believed that the real reason for his sudden change of heart was more likely the prospect of political irrelevance. After months of thinking he was too important for the elections to go on without him, he realized that they actually would. An equally plausible theory was that he may have been prepared to follow his principles over a political cliff. But King Goodwill was not. He'd been dependent on Buthelezi for his budget and personal safety. When the ANC promised to maintain the monarchy and continue his royal budget, this dynamic changed. Wow. Buthelezi brinksmanship left him with only 5 days to campaign. This and his image as a spoiler cost him significant support at the polls. The IFP got 10.54% of the national vote, with 43 seats in the National Assembly, as opposed to the ANC with 62.65% and 252 seats, and the MPs 20.39% and 82 seats. He led the IFP into the government of national unity and was Minister of Home Affairs from 1994 to 2004. As acting president, he ordered a partial invasion of Lesotho by the SANDF in 1998, which he insisted had the blessings of then President Mandela, who was out of the country at the time. In spite of announcing that he would leave Parliament after the 2019 national elections, he remained an MP until the end. He was a damn warrior. You was a rider. You a rider. Okay. I don't know if I agree with it all, but hey, you was a damn rider. I love it. Anyway, here we go. He reluctantly stepped down as IFP leader in 2019, but remained the face of the party. Buthelezi was born on August 27th, 1928. His wife, Princess Irene, with whom he had 8 children, died in 2019. He is survived by 3 children. Wow. Wow. He had 8, and only 3 are still alive. But he was 95 when he passed away. What a warrior. Amazing. Whew. It's so much history. It's just, there's so much history here in Africa. If you go to every single country, you'll find bits and pieces and remnants of our history, of the full story, like every single inch, space, place, square mile of the earth, you will find bits and pieces of our history. There's bits and pieces of our history on every inch, square yard, square mile on the face of this earth. Black people, Black African people's history. You can find traces of us. But for sure, here in Africa, every country has bits and pieces of our history that has played out thus far. Yeah, amazing. So, family, don't get mad at me. I am not the writer of this article. You can get mad at this brother right here, or whoever this man is right here, or if it's a woman. I don't know, because Chris could be a girl's name. But that's who wrote the article, Chris Barron, okay? And let me read this too. Let me read this right here. A great-grandson of the Zulu king, Setshwayo Mangosuthu Buthelezi, played a controversial role in the turbulent years of opposition to apartheid through his leadership of the Inkatha Freedom Party, writes Chris Barron. What his overall mission was, which was to protect the Zulu nation. That's what I was reading. And that's the way I believed he facilitated his leadership. You know, he followed his instincts, much of which came from spirituality, I'm certain, and the ancestors, particularly his great-grandfather, Shaka Zulu. I mean, you know, come on now, let's be for real, okay? See? Don't you know the man got messages and uploads and downloads and side loads and twisted loads, okay, of what to do, how to do it, when to do it, where to do it, and why to do it. See, we just cannot overlook that as Black people, as African people, spiritual people. Do you understand? And this man was born in the 1920s, so these are facts. Those were some of the things or instructions that he was given straight from the source. Straight from the source. Can't overlook that. Now, I don't know, those of you here in South Africa, you may have a different opinion about this man, this brother. Okay, but there are no perfect people. And the way the ancestors chose to use him and sustain his life for 95 years speaks volumes, in my opinion. So that's the way I see it. And I am open, for whatever mudslinging or dirt that folks want to throw at him or whatever. Okay. But you know what? The work of a activist, of a revolutionary, believe you me, it ain't easy. I challenge any one of you to walk in his shoes. I challenge any one of you to try to walk in that man's shoes. See, that's the thing. We can say a lot of things that sound real cool and hip, but you know what? When we flip it on the flip side and say, you know what? I wonder what it was like walking in his shoes. See, that's the thing. Many of you wouldn't have lasted. You damn sure wouldn't have been here 95 years. You would have caved in. Soon as they would have rose up, because trust me, they rose up on this king. They did. Many, 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 many times. See? They definitely did. And he weathered the storm. He's a rider, a true warrior. I don't give a doggone. He may not have done it perfect. That's okay. Try walking in his shoes. See, that's all I want to see is all the people who have anything that they say. And you're welcome to say whatever. You don't have to agree with any of this. Is not my article. And again, I'm just learning about this brother. Okay. But I know about being an activist and a revolutionary. Try walking in those shoes and see how it is. You ain't really living no revolutionary life until they come and rise up against you. See? Okay, if you ain't got no problems, you just soaring. You're becoming a phenomena, something like a phenomena. Something like, you just flying high on a friendly sky. You just soaring, you just getting more popular, more money, more this, more that. You need to stop and say, hey, okay, am I really for real? Or is this just play? See, it's a lot of like hard work, a lot of setbacks, a lot of hateration, a lot of people that don't want to support you. I mean, the list is long. Okay? See? So go ahead if that's what you want to do. You want to throw stones or whatever. Okay? But I would say this right here. He who is without sin cast the first stone. And that people who live in glass houses shouldn't throw stones, So you can put that there. I mean, really and truthfully, at the end of the day, who doesn't fit in that category? We all throw stones. See? You have a right to your opinion, and you like who you like and you dislike who you dislike. For that, you should not be ostracized, boxed in and slandered in society because you choose to do something that others may not agree with. And which brings me to this point. This is something that I want to say to the white people that will hear this video. And this is something that I think we can learn as Black people, or at least give it a second thought. White people have spent pretty much all their life trying to separate from Black people. I mean, from the inception of time, they have made it super clear that they do not wish to be affiliated, associated, or considered to be in the same group as Black people. You know what? I respect that. I really do. I don't see anything wrong with it. I think it would have been better if we would have let it be, Okay, I'm not talking about what happened here in South Africa. That's a whole nother story. And what you'll hear me say, you may say, well, oh, she's being, like double talking. So I'm gonna leave that story for another later date and time. From my own personal experience, I'm speaking about America. Okay? I cannot speak about Africa because I was not here when I was a young woman, when I was a child, when I was a baby. I can speak thoroughly about America, and I believe that we should have, with being separated but equal, we should have enforced that and pushed that. We should have never, ever, ever, never, never, ever, ever, never, ever, 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 never enforced integration. You got to think about it from a higher level of intelligence point of view. Why and on the earth, even white people were smart enough to know that much. You have to give them credit. They're like, but wait a minute, we've done all of these atrocities to your race. Why in the hell would you even want to be friends with me? You see, this is what they probably said. They had enough sense to say, I don't, like these are some weird people. Like we done did all of this stuff and they still want to be in the same, everything with us. Like they even them were trying to help us to see, you listen, you just don't befriend and refriend or welcome in or open the gateways or the floodgates to people who have treated you this way. Have you not studied anything about the Holocaust, the Jewish Holocaust? You understand? Because at that point we didn't know about the Black Holocaust like we do today. Now we know. We know now, but we didn't know then. So I respect the fact that they were trying to get us to understand, listen, even if you all have forgiven us, we don't feel comfortable being your friend. Okay? We definitely don't feel comfortable with living in close proximity to you all I'm talking about after slavery was abolished. Okay? And black people were given the boot. Go make it the best way you can. The 40 acres and a mule was all a scam. It was a sham. We never got that. So we were just basically kicked out, and we were there still trying to be integrated and put in a position where we had interaction with this group of people. And they were there saying, listen, we don't feel comfortable with that. Don't you see what we're doing? We're hanging you from trees. We're beating you with whips. We're raping you in front of your wives, in front of your husbands. We're impregnating you with children that you don't even, really probably even signed up for to have. The list goes on. We got your babies out in the cotton fields in the blazing hot sun at 12 in the afternoon when the sun is most robust. We're taking your babies and feeding them to the alligators. My nigga, we don't want to be your friend. Don't you see that that's clear indication? We was not receiving that. So we were not receiving that. And that is simply all that they were trying to say. We don't feel comfortable in that space with you all. And guess what? Today, now, hindsight 2020, now we know better, we do better, we know more, we do more. They still don't feel comfortable because now it's like now the history, everybody is talking about it. It's all out in the open. So you got to know, like, you just have to, just be a regular person and put yourself in their shoes. If it would have been you that had done that to their race, or us that had done that to their race, do you think we would feel comfortable at this point in time when all of the secrets and everything that we hid is coming out and would we feel comfortable being around them? We would not. It's just common sense. Common sense, family. But as far as white people wanting to be separated from black people, I think it was the greatest thing ever. I swear, Bravo! 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 We should have allowed it. We still should allow it. It's the best thing ever. You will never be able to push this relationship. There's too much blood in the middle, okay? There's blood in the middle. There's conflict in the middle. There's confusion in the middle. There's a massive amount of personal injury in the middle, a massive amount of material damages that were stolen, things that have not been returned, replaced in the middle, massive loads and loads and loads of material things, financial debts that have not been paid in the trillions and gazillions at this point, as we keep going, and it'll keep going up. So it's in the trillions and trillions and trillions of dollars. All of this is in the middle. There's a difference of beliefs, opinions, historical events. The list is long. You understand, family? Or you understand, people, period, whoever's listening to this video. I think it would have been, it still should be. Do you understand? And separate but equal. Not separate and black people are, the underdogs, and non-black people are climbing the successful ladder. See? Because for many, many, many centuries, white people have went so far as to enforce their laws and their beliefs in the law. Even in, what was it? This article, I believe at the top of this article, they were talking about, I don't know if it's this article. I'm reading so much. No, I know what it was. This is in a book I'm reading. Okay, I won't tell you what the book is right now. But anyway, in that book this morning, I was reading where just as recent as 1940 something, 46 or whatever, it was period, point blank period, illegal for race mixing. It was illegal for a black man and a white woman, or a black woman and a white man, to be in a relationship here in South Africa. So I don't see anything wrong with it. It's a way to do business and continue to prosper and be separated. People have done it in New York for decades. Okay? The Asian community, we didn't go to school with them, but they was there selling that damn Chinese rice and damn half chicken with fried rice. You want fried rice? Have chicken with fried rice? See? They were there. They were there with their Chinese restaurants all over the city of New York, selling their food everywhere. Every corner there was a Chinese restaurant. We didn't go to school with them. We never seen them in the schools or in our hospitals. And we were happy to go in their restaurants and buy their food. And we loved it. Some of us grew up off of Chinese food. The same with the Italians. We didn't go to school with the Italians, but they were there. We didn't see them in our hospitals, but they had to see doctors. See? It's the same with the Jewish community, the Hasidic Jews. There was many things that we went to those little five and dime stores back in the days, and we bought out of their stores. We couldn't afford anything else. We only had a little bit of money, and they had all kinds of discount stores set up in the black community. They were there selling their little, cheap goods or whatever, and we went and bought them and were happy to buy them. And we never seen them in our schools. We didn't go to school with any Hasidic Jews at all. Period. None. Okay, and they definitely was not in our hospitals. So the moral of the story is this thing where we're still trying to force ourselves into a society where we don't fit. This man right here, do you understand? He, I believe his whole thing was he wanted equal rights for the Zulu nation. And I think he would have been happy if they were separate but equal. Again, I'm learning about this great Zulu king and revolutionary freedom fighter who lived for a ripened 95 years. Okay, think about that. 95. A 9 and a 5. Okay, I got 5 on it. No, I got 9-5 on it. See? Right. The ancestors kept him here that long. See? So as I learn more about his life and his story, I'm sure I'll see his name come up. You know, he was very much a part of when Mandela, popped up and we, was hearing about Nelson Mandela and then, of course, Winnie Mandela. This man was actually on the scene before Mandela, according to what I'm reading and learning. So anyway, we will hear more about him, I'm sure, in some of the other things that I'm reading currently. So I'm going on record stating that I support and agree with anyone who is fighting for Black people, freedom, justice, and equality. Reparations now. Reparations is justice. But for sure, here in Africa, every country has bits and pieces and parts that have played out in the overall history of our billions, probably trillions of years of existence as the mothers and fathers of civilization on this planet Earth, to include the rest of the earth. Wherever the earth is, you will find Black people, Black African people, the sacred, divine Black people, the sacred, divine Black African people, the mothers and fathers of civilization. We started it all. We taught it all. And we will continue to thrive and be placed back on our sacred, divine, Black African thrones. Black African thrones. Black African thrones. Black thrones. Black thrones. Black thrones. Black African pyramids. Black African pyramids. Black African pyramids, Black pyramids, Black pyramids, Black pyramids. We will continue to rise and be placed back on our sacred, divine African pyramids here in the motherland and around the world, around the earth. Stay tuned. Thank you all for listening. Be sure to hit that like button. If you have not already subscribed to my channel, hit the subscription, hit the notification bell. Until we meet again, same Black time, same Black channel, Goddess Terrain, aka also known as G9, stands for 9-Star General. Have a great day, sacred, divine Black African people, sacred, divine Black people, Black power, Black power, Black power, African power, African power, African power. Ancestral power, ancestral power, ancestral power. Spiritual power, spiritual power, spiritual power. Righteous power, righteous power, righteous power. Reparations now. Reparations is justice. Separation now. Separation is peace. So I'm deliberately leaving this unedited version at the end just for those of you who wish to hear the video when we're not editing out all of the distractions and noise interferences. So I'm leaving it in case you all want to hear, the authenticated version. I left a little clip at the end. This clip here, the ending, so that you can use if you want. Someday you might want to hear what really was going on when we were doing these stories. Okay, so I want to go on record saying I agree and support anybody who is fighting for Black people's liberation, freedom, justice, and equality. Reparations now. Reparations is justice. Redistribution of the land. And for those of us in America and for those in Africa, redistribution of the land without compensation. I am 100% in agreement with that. Now, everything that was written in this article, the reason why I said earlier, I don't know if I agree with everything, but he's a writer, is because I'm not going to sit here and pretend like I know every single detail of what played out during those very hostile moments in the 70s and 80s during the height and 90s, during the height of apartheid. So some of the things that he wrote when I was reading the article, I felt a little, I don't know, like I felt like he was trying to, I don't know, I started feeling like I'm this man's big sister, so to speak. Y'all know what it is. I'm like, don't you dare talk about my big brother like that. But then I was like, okay, you need to calm down because you don't really know all of the details and whatnot. And I need to go and do a little bit more research. So some of the things he wrote in here, it's kind of sound like he was trying to, share about when the Zulu king, Buthelezi, was, getting his warrior on, standing up for his rights. And the way in which he was wording it, I didn't really like it. But, if that's his truths or whatever, okay, it doesn't mean that it's facts. It's, what he's saying. The thing is, we all have to do our research and double check and triple check to find out more of the story, to fine tune it a little bit better. But in the end, I felt as though he was giving him more accolades and, acknowledging what his overall mission was, which was to protect the rights of the Zulu nation, and so, yeah, that's what I saw here and I read here. So this is hold on a minute. The devils are flying around making noise. Okay. Okay, as I was saying, You know, I think the article was interesting. There's another piece to Brother Buthelezi in the beginning of the Sunday Times that I will read that little. It's not very long. It's not very big. But I will add that to this. But you see him here kissing Mama Winnie Mandela. Okay? She always gave the best kisses. She gave the good ones. Do you understand? Yes. The good kisses. Yeah. So he's here with Charles, the monarchy, with Ronald Reagan. Okay. And here with Mandela. I don't know who, let me see who that is. Oh, okay. Charles, the king, I don't know. Oh, okay, maybe that's this one's his father. I think so. Yep, that was his father. So yeah, okay. So I'm gonna throw this article up on my channel. Okay, here's a beautiful picture of the brother when he was young and representing the Zulu nation. Y'all know in America we love the Zulus. We have, you know, made many, many accolades over the years, especially about Shaka Zulu. And guess what? This brother is, I believe he's the great-grandson of Shaka Zulu. And as a matter of fact, at the top of the article, they said that the movie Zulu that came out, I think in the late 70s, he actually played Shaka Zulu, which I think is pretty cool. That's another thing on the bucket list. Maybe I'll go and rewatch that movie. I'm sure I've seen it at least once. So, yeah. And then here's another picture. Okay, with him and Robert Subukiwe. It's hard to pronounce some of our brothers. Some of their names is difficult, family. You know, we got those slave names, some easy names, Jones and Robert and Hodges and you get it, right? Thomas and Thomason and Robinson and all of this. The African names is, you know, it's going to give you a run for your money. But anyway, this is a picture of Buthelezi and Robert Subukiwe. Yeah, here. So this is a picture of Buthelezi and Robert Subukiwe. So what's up with all the noise? You ignore it?